about 18.
And, like, would you look at the reservations? They always have the thing there, the sheet with the
Yes.
people's names, and then if they had a reservation, you would take them to their table, right?
Right.
And if they didn't have a reservation?
Well, I learned very quickly how to, I guess, encourage those who didn't have a reservation that in order to get a table, that if they sweetened the pot a little bit,
Exactly.
you know, meaning tips, that they would indeed get a table. So I actually was sort of an acting job, really, because I would say hello, and they'd say, oh, we don't have a reservation. I'd say, oh, really, that's too bad. I'd look at the sheet, and I'd say, oh, we're all fully booked. I'm so sorry.
But let me check.
But you know what? Let me do something for you. You know what? You know, like, you seem like a nice enough person, and you kind of like, you sort of, your eye kind of goes down to the hand and see, do they have a tip? Do they have some money? And you say, but you know what? I'm going to help you out. Let me do something for you. And then you come back, and they give you some money. I mean, that was really the only way I made money.
I understand that.
It sounds horrible.
No, it's not horrible
Very
at all.
manipulative.
It's amazing. I mean,
everybody did it.
I've been in hotels where they've been sold out, and if you present a picture of the President of the United States, and Ben Franklin is a very acceptable photograph at European hotels, Mr. Snyder, we've just had a cancellation. It's
Yes. So it was, you know, it was one way to make money, but you know, luckily I got lucky in show business.
Well, you sure did. In 1984, there you were in 3 deodorant ads, huh?
I was in a band roll-on commercial, yes. That was my one and only commercial. Like, I thankfully say, you know, it you know, paid the bills at the time.
And then for a little bit, I know that you appeared on the soap operas. I think you were on Guiding Light for a time.
Yes, I was on the Guiding Light. In fact, I was on the Guiding Light twice. The first year I was on, I was a rape victim, and the second year I was on, I was a woman dying in the hospital. And I don't know how they kept bringing me back, because I was like, and I was perpetually the victim, but somehow, you know, luckily I'm able to disguise myself, I think.
How big a break then in 1985 when you're cast in the Neil Simon production of Biloxi Blues opposite Matthew Broderick? That had to be an enormous stroke of good fortune.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that was truly my big break. I mean, you know, when people talk about their big breaks, that was it. I mean, starring on, you know, co-starring on Broadway in a Neil Simon play opposite a major movie star, you know, Matthew Broderick, and then we won the Tony, you know, that year. And
did you have to read for Neil Simon? Yes.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I went in 4 times to read. I first read for the casting director, then I read for Gene Sachs, the director, 2 or 3 times, and then I read for Neil Simon as well.
And after you're into the run for a bit, did you ever have to work with an understudy when Matthew Broderick couldn't make it sometimes?
Yeah, in fact, actually, I went through many Eugenes. His character's name was Eugene, and after Matthew left, he went on to do Ferris Bueller and, you know, other films. There was about 6 other Eugenes that I played with, but one time he actually had to miss a show for something, and an understudy actually came on, and I mean, there are things that happen in the theater, obviously, and certainly with an understudy, you know, he goes up on his lines, and there was actually, fortunately, when he did this understudy go up on his lines, meaning forgot his lines, we were dancing, and there's supposed to be this scene.
There's a scene there where you're...
we're dancing in a circle. So here we were, you know, dancing around, and he wouldn't say his line and wouldn't say his line, and I didn't even remember what it was.
Because he didn't know his line,
Exactly. And the stage manager was in the wings trying to yell it, and he kept going, what? And we kept going in a circle, and then I would go, what? And we'd go in a circle. And then finally, I mean, we were dancing for a good 5 minutes, and the audience probably thought, boy, what a boring dance. They don't say anything.
What are we doing here?
But luckily, we were newly, you know, meeting and falling in love, and it was one of those things where I guess it should be awkward. So it was awkward for a while there. Of course, I was sweating bullets, you know.
I know that feeling, too. You know, many nights here I do a very fine imitation of Singing in the Rain with Gene Kelly. And did you ever go back to Tavern on the Green without a reservation?
Actually, I did recently. I hadn't been back there for years.
It's a very nice restaurant, by the way.
Yeah, and they have a lot of opening night parties there, you know, for either movies, premieres, or Broadway shows. And I actually went there for a Broadway show premiere, and I hadn't been back there since I actually got fired. And for insubordination to management, I got in a fight with the manager, and it was very, very silly because I wanted to actually have a holiday, which they wouldn't give me. I was working, double shifts, and I wanted to go skiing with my family. So I wrote Warner Leroy. Yes, I know. So I wrote the owner, and he gave me the holiday. So the managers were basically out to get me. They wanted.
Oh, you went around the management to the top guy, right?
Yeah. So they didn't like that. So they were looking to fire me. So basically, I was seating a party from the cocktail lounge, and I was watching. They sometimes have these parties in these other rooms. So I was looking. It was a Mondale for President party. This is dating me. And I'm gaping into the room, and the manager comes up behind me and taps me on the shoulder and says, "What are you doing here? Your job's in there." And I thought I wasn't doing anything wrong, and so I seat this party, and I turn around, and he's standing in the exact same position I am, gaping into the party room.
You're the first person I've met in years that used the word gape.
Oh, really?
It's a great word. He gaped at the party. He was there gaping at the party. I love that word. It's a great word.
Yes. Well, anyway, so he was doing the same thing I was, so of course I went up to him and tapped him on the shoulder and said, "What are you doing in here? Isn't your job in there?" And of course that was it.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Yeah. But I was fortunate because then I got a band roll commercial, and then the Guiding Light, and then Biloxi Blues. So I was fortunate. My career took off after that. But anyway, I went back recently, and they had heard me tell this story countless times on different talk shows.
Oh, you've
Sorry
told this
to say
story.
this wasn't the first time.
Oh, okay.
But
well, you told it as if you've never told it before.
I'm sure. Yeah, right.
And I'm glad you told it here because it gave the public a chance to see it.
Yes, those who haven't seen it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I came back, and the managers who have heard this, all came running up to me and said, we would love to make up for the fact that we fired you, or whatever happened.
Sure.
Now, of course,
sure.
we'll give you a free meal kind of thing.
Now that you're
A little late.
Now that you're starring in The Last Don on CBS on the 11th, 13th, and 15th. We,
That's a good plug.
It's the first of many.
Good. We like that.
I know where I'm going with this, believe me, and I know where I'm going if I don't. Yeah. Penelope Ann Miller is here tonight. She's one of the stars, along with Danny Aiello, in The Last Don. The toll-free is up and running at 800-952-2788. Call quick, and we will reveal the surprise ending. Now these messages. Miller, here is Zachary on the toll-free in Toccoa, Georgia. Hi, Zach. Welcome to CBS.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning,
sir. Salutations from your CBS affiliate here in Northeast Georgia.
And what would that station be, sir?
That is WNEG Channel 32.
Nice to be with you. Thank you, Zachary.
Thank you. Ms. Miller, I just wanted to ask you if you could elaborate what it was like to work with Marlon Brando in the movie The Freshman.
Well, it was, of course, very exciting and thrilling because I guess most people, certainly my age, won't have that opportunity. And
Sadly.
Yes, and I feel that I was incredibly fortunate. We were all afraid that he wouldn't make it, but he.
Was there a reason that he might not have made it?
Well, I guess, he's an eccentric person, and you
heard
never
that,
know.
yeah.
And actually, there was one instance where, the biggest fear was that he would actually start filming, which he did, and he was actually really wonderful, very funny, big prankster. But what he did was he called. The biggest fear was that he would leave and never to return, especially once some of the film is in the can. So. It's hard to reshoot stuff that he's already done. But anyway, he called, and he was on an airplane, and there was a sound of an airplane, and he called the producer, and he said that he was going to Tahiti with Frank Sinatra, and that he was just going for the weekend, but he would be back. And everybody was all up in arms and so scared that, oh no, this is it, he's leaving, he's not going to come back. And he knew this, of course, and later that night at around 12 or 1, he then called the producer and was laughing and said that it was all a joke, and he'd actually tape recorded the sound of an airplane
so
that it
really,
sounded
he is
like,
a jokester then, huh?
Oh yeah, big time. He told a story about on The Godfather that apparently Coppola, got in these big bodyguards to carry him on the stretcher when he dies, and he was, I guess sort of, jokingly, he was sort of insulted in one way, but he thought it was funny in another. So he decided to fill his stretcher with lead weights so that they actually, when they were trying to pick him up, they really couldn't. So the veins are popping out of his neck, and they couldn't get him. And he, of course, got a big kick out of that.
Zachary, I'm glad you brought that picture up. The scene in that picture where they come upon the dinner where they're going to eat the
lizard or
the
the
lizard or
large
the critter.
Komodo dragon, yeah.
And there is
dragon.
Burt Parks singing a song.
Isn't that the
Tequila.
best?
That was an unbelievable scene.
It was great. In fact, Burt Parks and Marlon became very good friends
Oh,
after
he was
that.
a great guy, Parks. What
Yeah,
oh, man.
really.
What a nifty
and
guy.
Marlon was wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, he was great to the crew. He was great to the cast. He was a joy to work with, and I hope I get another opportunity. But it was, in fact, he almost did The Last Don. But for whatever reasons, he ended up not doing it, and now we have Danny Aiello as the Don, who's great. But I almost did work with Marlon again.
Probably because he is so closely associated with The Godfather.
Yeah.
In the 70s films, that to have him come now as the last Don.
Well, he was all, you know, he wanted to do it. I think it was more of a, you know, money thing. I mean, I don't know. I shouldn't get into this. I don't know the real deal. But he was committed initially, yeah.
Okay. Zachary, thanks for calling.
Yeah,
thanks for watching, sir.
Tom, I enjoyed watching Master Control here every night.
Oh, you work at the television station.
I'm looking at you on 5 screens, and Miss Miller, it's a job to envy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
And keep us on the air, okay, Zachary?
As long as you take my calls, we'll keep you on the air.
And get the commercials in the right order, okay?
Absolutely, you're in good hands.
All right. Good night, Zachary. Thank
God
you.
bless.
All right. Bye-bye. So let's get to the last Don here. We've put this off long enough. This is big, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly it seems that way. I mean, it's a 3-part, 6-hour
Miniseries?
event. Yes, miniseries. It's the 11th, 13th, and 14th,
As
and
I
2
said.
hours each, as you
Right.
said. Yes, and
So big we couldn't show it all in one night, you know?
exactly, exactly. I'm heavily in the first episode and partially in the second, but that doesn't mean not to continue watching. But,
Because you never know when I
never
might
know.
come
Maybe
bursting
I'll-
back. That's
exactly.
right.
I may pop up somewhere.
Will your appearance in The Last Don be the same as your appearances here with us tonight? Or do you have different colored hair is what I'm getting at?
Oh, well, actually, yes. In fact, it's a good thing that you mentioned that, because those of you out there who hopefully will be watching The Last Don may not recognize me, because I wear about 3 or 4, it ended up, different wigs. I'm blonde in it, and I'm a Las Vegas showgirl, and I'm sort of heavily made up, and and I go from the 60s to the 80s, so I'm also in period.
Does it bother women who have to change their hair color in a picture? For example, there's this tremendous publicity for this picture, and people may well see you and not recognize you.
Yes, well, I'm on a lot of buses these days,
Are you really?
and I keep noticing myself going by, but of course everyone goes, "That's you?" And I would come on the set sometimes and say hi to the director and the producers and everyone, and they'd say, "Oh, hello," you know, thinking maybe I was an extra or something, and I'd say, "No, it's Penelope, it's me." And they're, "Oh my gosh, I didn't recognize you."
But there is every reason in the world for the television audience to watch this program on the 11th, the 13th, and the 14th.
Yes.
Is there a reason it's not running on the 12th? Oh, Big Comedy Monday.
They didn't want to lose out their Monday night, I guess. I don't know, actually. I really have no idea.
Oh, that's it. Trust me. Big Comedy Monday. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
But yeah, I had a great time doing. Joe Mantegna
Oh, the best.
is in it. I play his wife, and he meets me. I'm a dancer in a show in Las Vegas, and we fall in love, get married, have children, and
And you made this show in Toronto, a part of it.
a part of it, yes, was in Toronto. And
I read in one of the papers, the trade papers, that you
I was a hero.
yeah, that you saved a lady's purse or some such
Yes,
thing.
I was involved in my own crime, you know. In fact, I go against the mob in The Last Don, and in fact, I had a taste of crime itself in real life, and I was in Toronto with one of the actors in it, Seymour Cassell.
Oh, surely.
Great actor, and he and I happened to have a day off, and so we were, you know, from the hotel, very nice part of Toronto, which is
sure.
known for
I've been there.
being
It's a
incredibly
wonderful
clean and
city.
crime-free.
That's right.
And we decided to go on a little shopping spree, and we're walking up Yonge Street, I believe it is, which is a major thoroughfare. And I noticed Seymour's telling me some story, and we're walking casually up the street, and I noticed a guy across the street who's looking very suspicious to me. He was kind of nicely dressed, but sort of at a nice jog and kind of looking behind him, and he looked very suspicious to me, so I kept watching him. And all of a sudden, I realized why, because he wasn't running towards something, and he wasn't, you know, it just seemed a little, and he
You
hadn't
could tell something was
up.
untoward, right? Yeah, right.
Exactly.
I mean, you weren't gaping at him.
No, I wasn't attracted to him. No, he looked suspicious.
Just out of the corner of your eye.
Yes,
right.
and actually, indeed, he then ran up to this woman and grabbed her purse, so I yelled, "Stop him!" And Seymour thought I was talking about his story, so he thought, was it that bad? so I said, no, he's got a purse. He's got the woman's purse. So Seymour goes across the street. The guy's crossing the street, and Seymour's ready to tackle him, and I was very impressed with Seymour. And then, of course, the guy pulls out a knife, and he starts jabbing at him. And then I realize, and then he continues to run, and I realize that I have a one of those cell phones. So I think, oh, call 911. So I'm running down the street going, well, now we're at such and such street in this corner, and he's down that street. And
so the wind-up is you got the lady's purse back.
he finally dropped the purse, but he did get in a getaway car. And but I felt like,
Hey, you had your moment as,
I did. Well, Seymour, I have to say.
Penelope Ann Miller, crime fighter on the streets of Toronto, right?
Yeah, maybe next I'll be in like some detective action thing.
Or Wonder Woman, who knows? We will continue with Penelope Ann Miller and you on the toll-free as time permits. I'm Tom. This is CBS. Just say it was you.
Yes, and I quickly ran out and went home and came back.
And came back, though, with this lovely picture of you and Joe Mantegna as seen, and there you are. And while we can tell it's you, your appearance is markedly different from that which it is tonight. Not that you don't look wonderful tonight, and that you didn't look fine in that picture over there.
Well, thank you. But now people recognize
there
me
you go.
in the last
right.
one.
I want to ask you here about a picture you made with De Niro, which touched me and a lot of people. It was called Awakening, okay? And before that picture, you were nervous, I read, about meeting De Niro and auditioning for him. And you talked about this with Bruno Kirby when you and Kirby were making
The Freshman.
The Freshman that we've talked about.
Yeah, actually, the first time I met Robert De Niro, it was for another film. And of course, it's nerve-wracking to audition in the first place.
Sure it is.
Then
very difficult.
to audition for Robert De Niro as well.
Is that tough?
Well, I mean, I try not to be. In fact, generally, I don't get intimidated, but it's still one of those awkward situations.
Sure.
And then it's somebody you really admire and respect, and who's this great actor that you've watched, my whole life. And so when I went in to read, he actually, was looking down at the page the whole time and didn't look up at me. Mm-hmm. So I thought he hated me. I thought he thought that I was terrible, and this was his sign to the director or whoever that
he was not interested or
he was
not
interested.
Impressed.
Right.
What wasn't moving him, whatever.
Whatever. So of course, I left this audition in tears, and felt like he hated me, and that that
it was over. You weren't going to get the
right.
part, right?
And then I went later to do this film, The Freshman, and Bruno Kirby was in it, and Matthew Broderick. Once again, I worked with him, and then they were auditioning for Awakenings, and they wanted me to come to New York and read for Robert De Niro once again, and I said, well, I can't. He hates me. I mean, I had this horrible experience where he didn't look up from the page when I was reading opposite him, and then Bruno says, no, you don't understand. Bobby, as everyone calls him,
Bob, yeah.
Bob, he likes to be called Bob, is painfully shy, and that if anything, it was just he was probably more nervous than you were. So I thought, oh, how endearing. I felt sorry for him. I mean, I felt like, that was something that I could relate to and sympathize with.
The scene in that picture where he dances and he stops shaking. It tears me apart every time I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I cried in the scene, and I still cry when I watch it.
Yeah, it's a remarkable piece of work. Remarkable piece of work. And the person who directed that picture Penny Marshall gets
which was my nickname, by the way.
Far too little credit.
Yeah, I think she did a remarkable job. I also think that Robin Williams was also
remarkable in that
picture because
if
you knew Oliver Sacks, who this story was based on, a true story, and you'd met him, what Robin Williams did in that film was identical to the way this man is in life, and he was so withheld. I mean, he held, because Robin is known to be sort of, very comedic actor, and he really held back, and it was a subtle performance, but it was beautiful.
I think about pictures that could not have been made if Robin Williams had not been in those pictures. Good Morning Vietnam could never have been made without Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Awakenings could not have been made without Robin Williams. Yeah. The Dead Poets Society could never have happened.
Well, Birdcage, I thought he was wonderful in. But anyway, the whole thing, going back to the Awakenings audition, is I finally went back in and read with De Niro, And now that I knew he was shy, I, of course, was, you know, overtly friendly. I was like, hey, how you doing, Bob?
Bob, how are you?
Patting on the
Jeez,
back.
Bob, how you?
Bruno, Kirby, you know, you know, and he then warmed up and became very jovial, and, you know, and luckily I got the part. So it actually helped to have that piece of information, but you never know.
Thanks for your good work in so many pictures and plays that we've seen, and we'll all be watching The Last Don here on CBS on Sunday and then again Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Thank you, Penelope.
Thank you very
My
much
great
for
pleasure.
having me.
Penelope Ann Miller is the guest, and The Last Don will be on the air on Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week here on CBS, and then it'll be available in home video, just in case. Next, Letitia Baldridge, what's polite and what's not after these messages.